Welcome back to Spirit Sherpa, where we help spiritual practitioners find prosperity. I am your host, Kelly Sparta, transformational shaman and spiritual business coach. And I am here today with Lisa Nicholson. And Lisa is going to tell us a little bit about herself. So, welcome to the show, Lisa.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you. So, I am a licensed acupuncturist in San Diego, California. I started my practice as a massage therapist in my second year of acupuncture school, which feels like just yesterday and also feels like a million years ago, back in 1997. And as soon as I had an acupuncture license, I segued into providing acupuncture services. I have a general practice, but I have focused on different things throughout the years. Initially, a lot of sports medicine and workers' comp. And then over the last 8 years or so, I've transitioned to doing more and more oncology support, particularly in the breast cancer area. I do run the only non facility associated breast cancer support group in San Diego County and have been running that for about 7 years. And yeah, I love what I do. I've been in the same location for over 20 years. And yeah, here we are.
Okay. And so, what caused you what in your business caused you to book the call today?
Curiosity more than anything else. A couple of years back, when Marissa started the Found Your Healers group, I was drawn to stepping into that, which is a little bit unusual for me. I've made a point over my pretty much my entire career of staying out of the spiritual and the sort of woo that gives people who are alternative or complementary practitioners sometimes a bad name in the rest of the medical community, and really kept my focus on evidence based and trying to be as acceptable as possible in that world while doing the stuff that I do that's really more creative, intuitive. And over the last couple of years, I've been starting to feel more and more that there's a little bit of a disconnect from what my inner soul is looking for in that business, but not really sure how to bridge those gaps in a way that keeps me grounded in where I need to be with the population that I'm working with, but still allows me to explore those areas. So I figured, well, this is a way of dipping my toe in that water, so to speak.
Okay, well, you've definitely come to the right place. My personal growth series for spiritual practitioners is called the Woo series. So I am the Woo girl. So we will dive deep into this topic today. Um, and so you said something that I didn't know from our pre-call conversation, which is that you're working with breast cancer patients, and so there's actually really cool woo stuff to do around breast cancer because breast cancer is typically a result of a lack of self-nurturance, and where you're giving away everything to other people and not taking care of yourself. And so there is a huge amount of work that can be done personal growth wise, which is not super woo. It doesn't have to be super woo, right? That would fit well into a clinical construct, into a group dynamic, right? And then energetically, there's work that can be done around opening to receive, because oftentimes, people who come up through that environment they are often coming out of CPTSD creating environments, so trauma-based environments in childhood where they had, alcoholic parents, narcissistic parents, neglectful parents, situations where, a child in the family had medical issues and they took up all the air in the room and things like that. All of these things can create that environment. And I don't market to people that way. I don't recommend marketing to people that way. But knowing that that's where they're coming from is super helpful. And, obviously we can't diagnose, but we can look at it and say, this has all the hallmarks, right? And,
Mhm.
we don't say you have CPTSD. We say, hey, this is what is going on for you. And by the way, you might want to look this up and talk to a therapist, right? So
Yes.
that sort of thing. But there are ways to integrate that sort of work into the work that you're doing. You said you were running a group in San Diego for breast cancer people. And so if that's the case, then this is an opportunity where you could bring that into that sort of environment and you can build it into your therapeutic work as well without it being super woo, right? What you do is you market the therapeutic stuff and you give them the woo stuff on the side, right? Because you have to have the credibility with the medical institution for them to be able to refer to you. And so,
Yes.
you give them that and then you feel people out around the woo stuff. And if the people feel amenable to the woo stuff, then you give it to them. And if they don't, then you don't. That's how you maintain your therapeutic cred, right? While still being able to do the woo that you're feeling called towards. Okay. And so, I could foresee you doing like a course online where you can do something specifically for breast cancer survivors around learning self-nurturance and learning how to receive and learning how to recognize the patterns in their lives where they're over giving and under receiving and pointing out the difference between giving from your overflow versus giving from your emptiness and things like that. Right. So there's an entire course that could be built there that you could market to your breast cancer survivors. And then there are people you can cross promote with. Barbara, what's Barbara's last name? There's a woman who is one of the facilitators for the Human Awareness Institute. Her name is Barbara. I can't remember the last name right now, but if you look up the Human Awareness Institute, they're in San Francisco. She actually, last I checked, which was a few years back, but last I checked, she was doing breast cancer work. And so she would be somebody that you might want to try and co-create with or, cross promote with or whatever, right? Um, I'm sure there are other people out in the industry who are doing associated or similar things. And so, when you look at this, the other thing that can come up with these, if you want to really walk down the woo world, is past life issues. So, sometimes diagnoses come back with past life issue things that show up. So, there's past life issues you can do. There's somatic work that can be done. So these are all different pathways that you could use to get a little more woo. And, with your acupuncture stuff, you could do that. You could do this energetic process at the same time and not even tell them it's energetic. You could just say it's acupuncture, right? They don't need to know, right? Now, acupuncture is energetic. I mean, we know how it's all about the chi flowing through the meridians. So it is an energetic process unto itself. So to a certain extent, they're buying into that when they come in, if they understand that that's what it's about. With a lot of people, you don't know that that's true or not, right? But to say, hey, we're going to do this process and we're going to you can even call it a hypnotic process. You can call it, hypnosis it's a hypnosis offshoot, right? It's a visualization, right? And so visualizations are not in the woo world anymore. They've gone more mainstream. So you could get away with that and you could just have them walk through that process. And you gotta say, you don't hold attachment to it. You don't get angry at it. You don't push at it. I'm just asking you to light it up and release it. Just let it go. And then, if they have a resistance to that, then you can go into, well, tell me a little bit about that resistance. What's going on for you? Are you getting attention that you never got before? Are you getting downtime that you never got before? Has this been a gift to you in some ways? And, we may need to work on a plan to give yourself the things that this is giving you so you can let go of the cancer. Right? Yeah. So lots of pathways that you can go there. Right?
Yeah.
So assuming you want to keep working with breast cancer patients, because if that's not the case, then you may need to go down a different path. But are you happy with your market right now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I
So then
was.
these are all possibilities then. Yeah. And breast cancer can also result in mastectomy. And if somebody's had problems with being seen as a sexual creature, the breasts on women are one of the main sexual characteristics. And so that could also be a factor, right? These are all different ways in which this can manifest. And so that may be something you have to talk about too, is like, oh, you're going towards mastectomy. What's up with that? Sometimes it can be that they over identified with their breasts and now they're trying to be seen for other things. And subconsciously they've decided they need to manifest being without the breasts to be taken seriously or something. Who knows? Right. And there's lots of different ways that this can come into fruition. It just depends on what's going on. But the primary thing that usually is underneath that in all the materials I've ever read and all the people I've ever talked to is lack of self-nurturance. So it's inherently the nurturing part of the body where we feed the baby, right? Yeah. So these are all pathways for you. Does anything sound exciting?
I think the course on self-nurturing maybe sounds like the most interesting of those things. And I think some of the other things we're talking about on some levels I'm already doing.
Okay.
There because in the treatment room there's a lot of it's all one-on-one. And so there's a lot of opportunity for those kinds of things to come up and for discussions to happen and what is going on with this. I mean, what I can say and what I'm hearing in the clinical practice is that people that are choosing mastectomy want to get all the cancer out of their body as soon as
Right.
possible.
Yeah.
That's really the direction they're going. And I've definitely had people who have been offered a less extensive surgery jump straight to bilateral mastectomy because they want to live a long, healthy life. And they're being told by their physicians that since the cancer has not spread, if you remove the breast tissue, you remove the risk. And so a lot of time now, what's underneath all of that beyond a risk reduction model might well be some of the things that we're talking about here. Sometimes we
So
dig deeper. Some people are really ready to go there too.
yeah. So another thing that just showed up for me as you were talking is that there are models for group acupuncture.
Yes.
And I think that you could theoretically create an environment where you did a group acupuncture for all breast cancer patients, all of them to come in at the same time, and then create an energetic container for them as well and a group supportive space, right? So
Yes.
people who are waiting for their turn on the table could be holding the energy for the people who are on the table, right? Or in the
Mhm.
chairs in this case, right? Because it's
Right.
but, the idea being that they could hold space for the other people and you could teach them how to hold space. They all know how to hold space for each other. They're very good at that. They hold space for everybody in their freaking lives, right? So
Right.
they know how to hold space and they can just open their hearts and send healing to each other, right? And have it be a round robin sort of thing where the people who are in the chairs when they're done get up and they sit down and they do the same thing for the other people. And it can be a beautiful community supportive environment, right? But you as the practitioner would set a container that would constantly feed energy to everyone in the room. Okay. And so you would set up something where they would be channeling the energy, not giving their own energy to each other, because you don't want a cancer patient giving their energy to somebody else. That would be catastrophic for their system. That would be bad. Right. But they have to, you set them up so that they open their crown chakra, they bring the energy through and they send it out to the other people. Right. And you provide you would do an energetic process where you would shut their hands off or their hearts off from being able to send out their own personal energy so that you keep them safe. Right. You set safety protocols. Right. That disappear when they walk out of the room because they're sovereign beings and they get to do what they want. But within your space, you get to control what they do. Right.
Mhm.
And so that sort of process might be a beautiful way for people to feel connected and supported and for them to be able to feel like they're having a significant increase, right? So, anybody who's religious, you say wherever two or more are gathered in his name, right? And it's just
Yes.
we're sharing positive energy, loving energy with each other, and we're channeling that from the universe, from God, from Allah, whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, or if you're atheist, you're channeling, universal source energy, and or whatever, right? And you just open people up to that, however they want to do it, right? And so it doesn't require a religious context, is what I'm saying. And
Right.
ideally should not have a religious context because it'll make people uncomfortable who are not part of that religious context.
Exactly.
There's a reason why everything I teach has zero religious context, though, because I think that metaphysics and religion are very different things. And so staying within the realm of metaphysics, it makes it easier. And if people want to bring in their own religion in their own part of the practice, that's fine. It's fine. No problem. Right. These are, it's just, I'm spitballing ideas for you. Right.
Mhm.
And I really want to acknowledge that you do have to maintain that therapeutic thing if you're going to keep getting referrals from doctors.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, as far as a course goes, let's talk about the course.
Right.
So obviously your existing clients are your easy, low hanging fruit, fastest path to cash, those people and anybody you've worked with in the past, right? Because they still need to learn these lessons, right?
Mhm.
And then from there, if you wanted to expand, now you have the option. You can just sell it up to the people you're working with and make life easy and not have to worry about it. But if you'd like to expand and make more money on it, then you start to look into, marketing online to people who are in breast cancer groups and things like that.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I keep bumping up against is
Mhm.
that accessing those people is
Mhm.
tricky
Yeah.
because so many of the algorithms for both Google and Facebook prohibit
Correct.
any kind of medical anything as a search criterion or
Correct.
as keywords, and also because they will give limited access to pages that are labeled as medical. And
Yeah.
so I'm finding that my reach is a lot lower than I would like it to be. And I haven't figured out how to crack that nut.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would go to the secondary providers. So I would join therapist groups and see about getting referrals for that. Um, or I would go to maybe health coaches because health coaches oftentimes will get people. If you've got a health coach that specializes in cancer treatments, things like that, that would be
Yeah.
a good referral provider. I would go on podcasts of people who are cancer podcasts or breast cancer, ideally podcasts. And you just have to work around it, right? If one avenue isn't open to you, you have to look for other avenues. You want to find the people who already have your people.
Mhm.
And so, with HIPAA regulations, you're not going to have a lot of help with therapists or healthcare providers unless they're referring the person to you and that person has to do the outreach. And so when the patient is the one doing the outreach, you're going to lose a lot in the referral stream because people lose momentum and coherence and they go, "Yeah, I'll call them," and then they don't, right? So, when you can go to people who do not have HIPAA-based restrictions, like health coaches and personal trainers or, cannabis providers, that's another one that you
Mhm.
might be able to find some referrals from. CBD, that sort of thing. Anything that's considered an alternative cancer treatment, those people are potential referral sources for you, you know. But, go outside of the marketing avenues in Facebook and Google and things like that. Google AdWords is not going to be worth much of anything coming up soon anyway, because nobody's actually reading the results. And so they're all reading the AI generated results these days. So Google AdWords is going to become a thing of the past. Facebook ads are they're hit or miss, and Facebook's not going to let you do anything anyway. So, nothing medically related, nothing I mean, you can't even say the word anxiety in an ad. They're limited inherently. So you can talk about outcomes, but the problem is that your people don't know what outcomes they need. So
Yeah,
that
I
doesn't
think
really
people
work.
are scared to death at the start of a diagnosis and trying to figure out next step without dying.
Yes.
And so a lot of the high level thinking isn't happening for 6 months down the road
Right.
until they've managed to survive the first few layers of treatment and are starting the rebuilding process.
Yeah. And so that's a limiting factor. So, but what you might do is you might cross promote with wig providers.
With which provider?
Wig,
Wig.
because
Hmm.
cancer patients are going for wigs, right? So that's and then they may do research on mastectomy clothing too. So, mastectomy bras, anything like that. If you have a tattoo artist that specializes in doing mastectomy tattooing, that would be another one, right? There's all these different side paths, right?
Yeah.
That your people are going to interact with that don't have HIPAA issues, right?
Right.
And so that's how you get in the door. That's how you get them. It's because those people will be bringing people into their businesses and you go, hey, I'd love to talk to your people if you'd refer them. And I can offer you, X amount of commission on everybody you send me or whatever. Right.
Mm.
Some people will just refer them to refer them. Right. Other providers in the same space will often just refer you to refer you. And you just say,
That's
hey, you refer back and everybody refers back and forth. And nobody has to pay anybody anything, right? That
well,
works.
and because I'm technically primary care in California, if I'm paying for referral, that's actually illegal.
Ah, okay. Good to
So
know.
I,
Don't
I
do
can't,
that.
I can't do that.
Okay. Yeah. So, but if you have an ability to cross refer, then life gets easy,
But
right?
that I do have.
Yeah. So, you send your people to the wig specialist and the wig specialist sends their people to you. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. And we all have our resource lists. And actually, that's one
exactly.
of the things I've done for years with the group. I have a background in case management
Okay.
prior
Yeah.
to acupuncture. And so every new person that I meet, I pull their contact info in. It's my group's Facebook page has a resource list that has, at this point, probably every wig provider, mastectomy, garment provider, cold mitt provider, et cetera, nipple tattoos, et cetera, in the region.
Yeah.
Part of why I generally will ask people if they live or work in San Diego as part of the admission into the group is because I don't have those resources outside of San Diego.
Yeah.
It-
Well,
you know,
and you may want to start to develop those because that's additional business, right?
true.
Yeah. So you could go all the way up to LA. It's only 2 hours away. So, you could go everywhere in between all the way up to LA. And that would give you a massive market,
True.
and, you may need to ultimately open a space in LA to serve the LA people. But, you do that 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and they come to you in the interim. It's fine. It's fine. Not a big deal. And the way you grow your business is you bring on other acupuncturists, right? And you do the high level stuff and they do the basic acupuncture stuff. So, that's how you grow your business if that's what you want to do. You have to ask yourself, how much do I want to work? How far do I want to go? How many people do I want to manage? There's absolutely nothing that says you have to go grow past a single person practitioner situation. If you're making the money you want to make, then it's fine. But if you're not making the money you want to make, then you need to decide how you want to grow. Do you
Okay.
want to bring on more people? Do you want to open more offices? Do you want to expand using additional add-on services like the program that we were talking about, or like the group acupuncture sessions, the support group, whatever, right? You have to think about how you monetize in a way that is sustaining for you, both monetarily, energetically, and, sanity wise, right? You got to make sure the sanity is there, right? So I'm going to give you lots of options for ways that you could grow. Some of them will make you crazy. And I don't know you well enough to know which ones, but you do. So if you hear something and you go, oh, I don't want to do that, don't do it. Okay.
They're like, oh my goodness, a day a week in LA? Are you kidding?
I know.
It sounds great intellectually, but here it's like,
No,
oh my.
yeah. Yeah. I was not a fan of LA when I lived there. So, okay. And this is the other piece of the puzzle, right? Is that you can have And I would actually at your meetups, your quarterly meetups, I would think about doing those acupuncture sessions, the group ones. I think that could be done.
Big idea.
And then
So
you could chart. You've done these events before. How many people show up?
typically 10 to 15.
Okay, so that's doable, right?
For the group meetups, we usually meet at a restaurant and everybody buys their own whatever they want. Or for the
Yeah.
holiday party, I had just moved and bought a house and was all excited to show off the new place and entertain. So we had everybody in for a holiday brunch at
Yeah.
my house.
Okay. So then I would keep that, but I would also add on the session before or after, right?
I'm almost thinking they need to be separate
Okay.
events.
Ask your group what they would like, right? Say, I'm thinking about doing this. This is how much it would cost per person. And, this is what I'm thinking. Would you like to do this at all? And if so, would you like to do it in conjunction with this luncheon where we do it just before, or would you like to do it on a different day?
Yeah.
Poll your people. They're going to know better than anything.
Yeah.
I'm not planning on doing a retreat in the US. And then one of my students at my last retreat here in Panama said, "Hey, if you'll come to Reno, I'll fill your retreat for you." And I was like, "Sold. I'll be there." And so we're putting it together in September. And she's excited, and she's actually gotten like 6 or 7 people from my alumni group to already sign up. And I don't even know how much it is. They're like, "I'm in." I'm like, "I haven't even put a price on it yet because I'm still finding out all the costs associated with it." But yeah, if you listen to your people, they will take you down the path you need to go. Right. So yeah, that's the sort of thing. So in regards to the class, I would, so marketing a course online is a whole nother business model. It's a completely different business. It will be its own startup effectively. So unless you really want a big extra revenue stream where you have a whole different group of people that you're working with, I might just keep it to the people you're working with in your practice and as an upsell on your existing clientele, because that will be far less complicated than trying to learn an entire new model online.
Yeah, and I'm already looking at that because I'm about yay close to having my first book published
Ah, okay.
and figuring out how to market that.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at classes as maybe a segue either into or from, like, here's the book and there's a next step.
Okay. And so do you want to build an online presence?
For years, I've thought that eventually, like, I'm close to retirement age.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at what does retirement look like for me?
Mhm.
And how long do I want to continue to maintain a bricks and mortar clinic? And if I can create things like classes and a book and an online presence, A, my reach goes beyond San Diego.
Right.
And B, I have some evergreen products that if I can figure out the marketing piece of it, can bring me income when I reach that point where I don't want to be doing clinical practice. And so I've been kind of dancing with this, but not succeeding in cracking the marketing nut,
Yeah.
getting those classes out there.
I would not market B2C for that. I would market a certification for acupuncturists. I would create a business model doing what you're doing and everything we've talked about, and your book and the class that you're going to write for the customers. And I would market that as a complete marketing package and, license them the materials for the coursework, and you host the course and they just enroll people into it. There's an affiliate system within Member Vault you can use for that, and they can just enroll their people, and you'll know who to pay out for what enrollment, and you keep your fee on that. And they use in that
Mhm.
way. So they become the affiliates for the program stuff that they're selling, right? And then you sell the course certification process to the acupuncturists. Probably right out of acupuncture school, because that's so much easier, right?
Yeah,
So
I
much
figured
easier to
it
find
out.
them, right? Exactly.
Plug and play. Yeah.
Exactly. And you talk to them about how to build relationships with all of these providers that we just talked about. And that would be the best path. And then your book, you could have a book for the consumer, but you could also have a book specifically for them. Right. And I'd
Mhm.
probably do more like a workbook for them. Right.
And I
You
think
know,
that
it's
would be
a,
more of an add-on workbook. And the book as it's written is it has enough of the tutorial on the whole process of everything from first, I found a lump that's suspicious through the diagnostic process, every single step of, well, what's it like to get a mammogram? What's it like to get an MRI? What's the process of
yeah.
getting a biopsy? What's your self-care afterwards?
Yeah.
What's the treatment planning process? Who are the doctors you're going to be seeing? What decisions are they going to be making? What questions should you be asking them?
Yeah.
And so for a new practitioner that doesn't know anything about the oncology world, because
That'd be
there's
perfect.
medicine and then there's oncology, which has its own language. It's filling in the gaps. I thought it was interesting that you brought up cannabis providers because I am actually certified as a medical cannabis coach.
There you go.
And I'm very much in that world. And there's a whole chapter in the book on safe use of medical cannabis for breast cancer patients. And I'm in the process of getting a date on the calendar to teach a class I've been building in tandem with the book to acupuncturists on that subject.
See, you're already going down this path. This is the path I would go. If you're going to set this up, that's exactly how I would set it up because it's so much easier to identify that market. And it is so much easier to, I mean, it acknowledges and addresses the stage of your business that you're in. You are at the expert level. And
Yes.
so rather than trying to teach more to the same people, level up, right? Talk, become the teacher of the teacher, of the teacher, of the healers, right?
Right.
It's time to step into that role of mentor and out of the role of provider, right? So you're
Mm.
training the next generation, right? This is the stage that you're in your life and your business. So that is absolutely the path I would do. It's also going to be the most lucrative for you with the least amount of effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel like we got the aha you needed. I've been like walking my way through it this whole time. And I was like, boom, that's the landing point. Then my guides are like, yep, you got there. You're done. So I'm going to call it good here. Tell everybody where they can find you if somebody's out there who's an acupuncturist and wants to get trained by you because what we've been talking about this whole time sounds good to them. How would they reach you to find out when you launch this?
So I am on Instagram as acupuncture geek. I don't know how I managed to pull that off, but I did. I'm on Facebook as Balboa Park Holistic Wellness Center, which is my San Diego business. That is
Holistic with an H or a W?
with an H.
Okay.
And that is also my website. So Balboa Park Holistic Wellness Center.com is the clinic website. And there is a section on there that has media appearances and classes and all the rest. It's not necessarily heavily emphasized at this point, but
Yeah.
we'll be
Okay.
working on that.
All right, great. I look forward to hearing about this coming out for you. And I'm excited. If you guys know somebody who's an acupuncturist, please pass this along to them so that they can hear about it and get some ideas. And thanks so much for listening. And we really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, share, rate. If you're enjoying this podcast, please rate it in Apple Podcasts or, any other podcast provider that you're on that allows ratings. But that's how we help grow the system, and that's how you can balance the karma for you getting good stuff, and this way you can help us in return. So we really appreciate that. And just remember, what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.